Hey everybody, Eve here, and today's video is going to be about living tiny. How small is too small? That's a very good question, but I've got some ideas that you can toss about to help you determine how small is too small, how tiny is too tiny. And it's based on a couple of what I consider to be prerequisites, things you need to know before going tiny that will help you determine how tiny or how small is too small. And the first one is, and this is a law, it's just a law. You've got two options when you go tiny. Are you seeking comfort or are you seeking freedom? Now, bear in mind, the more freedom you seek, as far as saving money, which would be a financial benefit, and being able to travel, but mostly the financial aspect of it. If you seek comfort, then freedom might be an issue, because the more freedom you seek, chances are the less comfort you will have. And the reverse is true as also, the more comfort you seek, the less freedom you'll have. And the tiniest space you can probably live in, and a lot of people are opting for, are cars. Now, cars offer the ultimate freedom, but unfortunately, usually the least comfort. And that's because of the space. I mean, you'll be able to save tons of money living out of your car, which equates to a lot of freedom. You can park a car everywhere. How stealthy you can be, meaning how little people will know about whether or not you're in the vehicle, where you can park legally and what have you. That might cause some problems, because in order to remain anonymous or to be more stealthy where people aren't aware you're in the car, has to do a lot with tinted windows, your ability to make it so that people don't know you're in the car. So cars can pose, while they represent the most freedom living tiny, comfort is a big issue. And that's because of space. I mean, where are you going to shower? Where are you going to eat, cook, use the restroom, sleep comfortably? And, in my opinion, like when people park in a car and you're camping out of your car, let's say you're in the city, I mean, usually to get into the bed area of a car or a hatchback, you have to get out of the car. Very few people will have the ability to climb between the seats unless they remove the passenger seat, which that's cool too. But you got to get out of the car. So that to me was one of the reasons that living out of my car wasn't an option, because this is just not as safe enough for me. I don't want to get out of my vehicle in order to get into my bed, because if danger's around or there's any threats around, I want to be able to drive away or be in a dwelling that's significant enough that people can't get in, or I can call 911 or what have you before there's a real problem. So cars are probably they represent the most freedom. That's what I'm trying to say. They definitely represent the most freedom, but the least amount of comfort. Then you can go to vans, and there are different kinds of vans too. There's minivans, there's conversion vans, there's camper vans, there's work vans. Oh my God, go on. There's high tops, medium roofs. Of course, a high top, any vehicle, any van that you can stand up in, it's going to be perfect and ideal. But now, depending upon the size of the van, most vans, even high tops, and this has to do with their length, will fit into a normal parking space. And if you get a panel van or something that doesn't have a whole lot of windows, and you don't put a ton of solar on top, or you can live pretty stealthy out of a van, and that's a ton of freedom, almost as much freedom as a car. Not quite, because you're not going to get the, that beautiful gas mileage you're going to get with a car. That's another perk. Living out of a car is the optimum freedom because of the mileage and your ability to park in most places. Like I said, within reason, you're going to have to, like I said, vans are just almost equal freedom-wise to a car. Not quite, because of the size, but they offer more comfort. And like I said, you're going to opt, one's going to trump the other. You're either going for freedom. Well, of course, we're all ideally seeking for both freedom and comfort. We all want to live better on the money that we have, and we all want the most amount of creature comforts available, regardless of what options we choose. But we've all got to do it within our, monetary budgets. So get out some pen and pencils and papers and hit the YouTube videos and start, looking like crazy, studying like crazy, watching videos until you can't see anymore, which is what I did. But I had to, because that's how I learned. And then, so explore vans. Next to vans there's all sorts of other alternative housing options with the best, the absolute best. It's at the top of the I'm having brain problems suddenly. It's at the top of this whole pyramid, right? Are tiny houses. However, tiny houses have their limitations too. You can't move them. You can't park them everywhere. They're definitely not to be moved. Tiny houses, even though they're on wheels, unless you purchase one that's specifically designed for moving consistently and it's built with the quality of an RV. Because remember, when you're moving anything on wheels, it has to be constructed in a way that it's able to take the constant jarring and motions, because let's face it, when you're moving something on wheels, you're like experiencing tiny little earthquakes the whole time you're in motion. So that thing's got to be, and you got to use screws and glue. You can't use nails. And I don't know how long IKEA furniture is going to work in a lot of these things I see people building. Not saying it won't. I would question it, because IKEA furniture is not the fact that it's expensive. It's just it wasn't built for RV and mobile living, or furniture that was created to be moved and to take the constant rigors of being moved and bouncing around, and you guys know what I'm trying to say. So anyway, tiny houses are at the top of this whole spectrum. They offer the most in comfort, obviously, but the least in freedom. And anymore, I'm sorry, people, the tiny house movement has got me so confused. Years ago when I first heard about it and looked into it, tiny houses at the very high end were $40,000. Now, good luck even trying to find one that's $40,000. I don't know, peeps. I really thought that the tiny house movement was going to change the lives of so many people for the better. And I don't know, I just think they've jumped on the bandwagon at, profiting. It's all about profit. They're building the same types of houses, and in many cases, I see inferior builds. And these people are asking a fortune for them. And what makes me upset about that is you can't park these huge things everywhere. Depending upon what state, they're even illegal in some states. I don't know all of the states. It changes daily. Guys, really, I'm telling you what, if you decide to purchase a tiny home, perhaps the tiny home builders, if you're going through that route and choose a professional builder in whatever area you live in, maybe they have a lot more information about the zoning regulations and what have you. But, you better have a lot of money. And I'll be honest with you, I have found just regular sticks and bricks or tinier traditional built homes that are a lot less than the tiny homes. And you won't have the problems with the sticks and bricks that are in your local area that are smaller than you will with the tiny house, because like I said, based on the zoning of that state and that county and that city, whatever, you're gonna have issues. You can't park them everywhere, and you can't park them really most anywhere. They're difficult. They're difficult. And then there's other housing options, like mine. You can live in a converted horse trailer. They're harder to find. People are living in gypsy Vardo wagons. They're living in schoolies. Converted cargo trailers. Those are good, because those can be very stealthy too. But the disadvantage I saw to those is, again, you're pulling your dwelling. When you're pulling your dwelling, which is what I would have to do if I decided to take this on the road, and I could. This is a camper. This was built for traveling, but it's heavy. It's real heavy, and you would be pulling that, and then if you park somewhere and you happen to run into some trouble, and believe me, there's a lot of people out there in certain states and certain areas that will cause trouble. And if you're way out on, the Bureau of Land Management, or you're boondocking, which is meaning you're off grid, meaning you're not in a typical campground plugged into power with neighbors everywhere, like a trailer park. That's similar. Campgrounds are similar to trailer parks, and there's a community there, so there's safety there. But if you're out boondocking, and then all of a sudden you hear, I don't care if it's human or if it's animal, and suddenly you're in a tricky spot. You don't want to be climbing out of your truck or anything else to get into your home, or by the same token, get out of your home to have to get into your truck or your van or whatever vehicle is pulling your tiny house or tiny RV or camper or what have you, to get away from danger. That would be terrifying, and it puts you at increased risk. So pretty much that's not everything, but I can't make these videos that long. Got to keep them brief, got to keep them short, because a lot of people don't want to watch things that long. I'm just giving you a little tiny summary of how tiny is too tiny, how small is too small if you're thinking about going tiny. So I'd like to share a joke. My new spirit animal is a dragonfly, because she fakes death to avoid males. That's my kind of bug. Anyway, while you're here, please thumbs up, comment on, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And until next time, may Christ bless each and every one of you most abundantly. Oh, and don't forget to ring that notification bell for my future video uploads. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you guys. There is such a thing as too tiny. There really is. Freedom versus comfort.